تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل وتدلوا بها إلى الحكام لتأكلوا فريقا من أموال الناس بالإثم وأنتم تعلمون. صدق الله العظيم. اللهم صل على محمद व आले मोहम्मद। इसके साथ ही मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा ब्रदर अब्बास काज़मी से कि आएँ और आके बीबी को फुर्सा दें। पर मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद सलावत।
असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ, असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ, आ जाओ चांद मेरे, तेरी प्यास मैं बुझाऊँ। असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ, मेरी लाडले कहाँ हो, मेरी लाडले कहाँ हो, सीने तुझे लगाऊं। असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ, आ जाओ चांद मेरे, तेरी प्यास मैं बुझाऊं। असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ, बेटा तुम्हारा कातिल मेरे सामने खड़ा है, जाने क्यों हंस रहा है, चादर भी लुट चुकी है, मुँह किस तरह छुपाऊं। असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ, आ जाओ चांद मेरे, तेरी प्यास मैं बुझाऊं। असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ, तेरे झूले को सकीना रो रो के चूमती है, तुझे घर में ढूंढती है, तेरी मौत की खबर में कैसे उसे सुनाऊं। असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ, आ जाओ चांद मेरे, तेरी प्यास मैं बुझाऊं। असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ, नेज़े से गिर रहा है नन्हा सा सुर तुम्हारा, दिल रोता है हमारा। मेरे हाथ बंद है, मेरे हाथ बंद गए हैं, कैसे तुम्हें उठाऊं। असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ, असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ, आ जाओ चांद मेरे, तेरी प्यास मैं बुझाऊं। असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ, मेरे लाडले कहाँ हो, मेरे लाडले कहाँ हो, सीने तुझे लगाऊं। असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ, असगर मैं तेरी माँ हूँ। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला।
Okay, very nice, Abbas. Now we'll request Brother Mehdi Raza to the podium with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
बराए खुशनूद मौला अली असगर बुलंदतर सलावात। आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असग़र राजा। आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असग़र राजा। लोरी अरमानों से भरपूर सुनाऊं असग़र आजा, आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असग़र आजा। तीर के आगे मेरे लाल तुझे होना है, देख कर तेरी हंसी जुल्म ने भी रोना है। जो तरीके हैं लड़ाई के सिखा लूं मेरे असग़र आजा, आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असग़र आजा। पहले अल्लाह का मैं शुक्र बजा लाऊंगी, देख कर खून तेरा लाल मैं मर जाऊंगी। मैं तुझे मौत की हिचकी से बचा लूं मेरे असग़र आजा, आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असग़र आजा। तुझको एक बार दफन बाबा तेरे कर देंगे, फिर तुझे नेज़े सक़ीफ़ा के वहाँ ढूंढेंगे। दश्त की गर्म हवाओं से बचा लूं मेरे असग़र आजा, आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असग़र आजा। तेरी मासूम सकी ना को पिला कर पानी, कल तेरी प्यास बुझाएगा अली का सानी। मैं तुझे देख के प्यास अपनी बुझा लूं मेरे असग़र आजा, आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असग़र आजा। लाश असग़र की जो देखी तो उठेगी ये बुका, है ये शाम ग़रीबां को सकीना ने कहा। हो के पाबंद तुझे पानी पिला लूं मेरे असग़र आजा, आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असग़र आजा। लोरी अरमानों से भरपूर सुना लूं मेरे असग़र आजा, आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असग़र आजा। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला।
Now I'll request Brother Rizwan Qazwini to the podium with a loud salawat. No, salli ala.
ऐ रात न ढलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब। ऐ रात न ढलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब। भाई से दमे सुबह हो बिछड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब। ऐ रात न ढलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब। सोने दे सकीना को कि फिर सो ना सकेगी। रोना भी जो चाहेगी तो फिर रो ना सकेगी। असगर से मुलाकात तो फिर हो ना सकेगी। ऐ रात न ढलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब। घबराए हुए हलाल हैं सहमी हुई माएं। जी भर के मैं दे घबराए हुए लाल हैं सहमी हुई माएं। जी भर के मैं दे दूं अली अकबर को दुआएं। लेना है अभियानो मोहम्मद की बलाएं। ऐ रात न ढलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब। ऐ रात बिखर जा तेरे बस में हो जहाँ तक। मिट जाएंगे कल आले पैगंबर के निशान तक। बाकी है ये मंजर अली अकबर की अज़ां तक। ऐ रात न ढलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब। हर चांद के बच्चों की अभी प्यास है बाकी। कुछ आँख में हसरत है तो कुछ आस है बाकी। लेकिन मेरा भाई मेरा अब्बास है बाकी। ऐ रात न ढलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब। बाकी है अभी आले मोहम्मद का सफीना, बेटी के सुलाने को है शबीर का सीना। झूला अली असगर का झुलाती है सकीना। ए रात न ढलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब। कल कौन सुनेगा मेरी ये आहो बुका भी, होगा तहे खंजर मेरे भाई का गला भी। ये चांद से चेहरे तो नहा जाएंगे खून में। ए रात न ढलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब। कल कौन सुनेगा मेरी ये आहो बुका भी, होगा तहे खंजर मेरे भाई का गला भी। खैमा तो कुजा सर पे ना होगी रिदा भी। ए रात न ढलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब। ए रात घड़ी भर को तू रहने दे सकूं में, घिर जाएंगे नासिर मेरे आदा के सफ़ों में। ये चांद से चेहरे तो नहा जाएंगे खून में। ए रात न ढलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब। भाई से तमें सुबह हो बिछड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब। बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलावत।
वेरी नाइस रिजवान, वेरी नाइस। मैं दरख्वास्त करूँगा ब्रदर रियाज शाह साहब से कि आएँ और बीवी को पुरसा दें। बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलावत।
बारह दीगर सलवार थोड़ा सा ऊंचा चाहिए। एक मरतबा फिर सलवार। अल्लाह बेशूर की मजलिस है, जैसा कि आपको पता है। बीबियों ने पैगाम भेजा कि मैंने मरसिया पढ़ना छोड़ दिया है, तो मरसिया जो मैं हर साल पढ़ता हूँ आज रात पढ़े, तो मैं मसाहब नहीं पढ़ूँगा, मरसिया ही पढ़ूँगा, क्योंकि मेरा इरादा था कि मैं शहज़ादा अली असगर की शहादत भी पढ़ूँ, कि जैसे मौला को मंजूर। एक मरतबा सलवात पढ़ लें। अल्लाह मुजराई खल्क में इन आँखों ने क्या क्या देखा, मुजराई खल्क में इन आँखों ने क्या क्या देखा, पर कहीं ना सिबते पैगंबर साया का देखा, पर कहीं ना सिबते पैगंबर नवासा रसूल पाक कहीं ना देखा। मुजराई खल्क में मैंने देखा आलमे शाह को आलूदाए खून, मैंने अब्बास को बेजान लबे दरिया देखा, मैंने अब्बास को बेजान लबे दरिया देखा, मैंने अब्बास को, मैंने देखा अली असगर का गला खून में तर, मैंने अली अकबर का छल निकले जा देखा, मैंने अली अकबर का छल निकले जा देखा, मुजराई खल्क में एक गठड़ी लाए हैं शाहिदी उसमें, मैंने टुकड़े टुकड़े कासम का सरापा देखा, मैंने टुकड़े टुकड़े कासम का सरापा देखा, मुजराई खल्क में तीर छुटाओ जदा हुरमलदा वंजा लगा वंज मासूम दे गले, त्रै वारी बाल दे मुंह विचों निकलिया यारो अम्मा अम्मा अम्मा, ओ खैमे विचों दुखी कूक आई मैं कुमार मुकाया गम्मा, मैं कुहैला चारी पर दे दी ताई मार ना सकदी अम्मा। शहज़ादा अली असगर ने तीर खाया है, बाबा के हाथों पे तड़प के इन लीनों से क्या कहते हैं, असी सबर रजा दे पाल के हाँ असी होज को सर दे मालिक हाँ कद तीर तुआ अजमा मैनू मैं हाशमिया नादान नहीं रोना है अपनी अकबत लई ज़ैनब ते कोई एहसान नहीं जेड़ा गम में शबीर च नहीं रोंदा वो आदमी तो इंसान नहीं रोना है अपनी अकबत लई अल्लाह
थैंक यू रियाज शाह साहब मैं इनवाइट करूँगा ब्रदर आमिर रज़ा को टू द पोडियम विद लाउड सलावत
ठीक ठीक हो गया माँ के दुलारे अली असगर माँ के दुलारे अली असगर आँखों के तारे अली असगर माँ कहती थी जलते हुए झूले से लिपट कर हाय हाय अली असगर हाय हाय अली असगर माँ कहती थी जलते हुए झूले से लिपट कर हाय हाय अली असगर अरे जालिम ने तुझे कब्र से इस तरह निकाला कि सीने पे लगा जिस घड़ी बेटा तेरे नेज़ा अरे लाशे को तेरे देख के बोला सरे अकबर हाय हाय अली असगर हाय हाय अली असगर और कातिल तेरा मिल जाए तो खुद पूछ लूं उससे कि क्या जुर्म था 6 माह के बच्चे का बता दे अरे उसने तो बुलाया नहीं अरे माँ भी मुझे कह कर हाय हाय अली असगर माँ कहती थी जलते हुए झूले से लिपट कर हाय हाय अली असगर अरे अब तक मेरी आँखों से
वो मंजर नहीं जाता कि गर्दन से तेरी खून टपकता रहा बेटा, कि रूमाल भी बांधा ना गया तेरे गले पर। हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। और जिस तीर से नाके को गिराते हैं जमीन पर, वो तीर लगा नन्हे से हल्कुम पे आकर, तुम खून उगलते रहे बाबा से लिपट कर। हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। और तुम मर गए ये बात वो अब तक नहीं मानी, जिद करती है भाई को पिलाऊंगी मैं पानी। कूजा लिए मकतल में खड़ी है तेरी खाहर। हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। और मजबूर थी घर में मेरे पानी भी नहीं था, वरना तो धुला देती मैं ये खूब भरा चेहरा। अरे दादी से शिकायत नहीं करना मेरी जाकर। हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। और मारा है सितमगर ने सकीना को तमाचे, मारा है सितमगर ने सकीना को तमाचा। अरे गाजी की तरह तुमसे भी देखा नहीं जाता, बंद आंखें किए रोते हो तुम नो के सीना पर। हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। और जनाब गाजी की तरह जनाब अली असगर का भी सर नहीं नेज़े पे टिकता था, कि सर इसलिए नेज़े से गिरा देते हो अपना, कि गोदी में मेरी आना है शायद तुम्हें बेटा। लेकिन लेकिन है बंधे हाथ उठा सकती नहीं सर। हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। माँ के दुलारे अली असगर, अरे आँखों के तारे अली असगर। अला लानतुल्लाहि अलल कौमिज़ ज़ालिमीन। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद।
बहुत शुक्रिया आमिर। मैं दरख्वास्त करूँगा नासिर शाह साहब से कि आएँ और इमाम ज़माना को पुरसा दें। ब मोहम्मद आले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम।
तकबीर, नाराए तकबीर, नाराए रसालत, नाराए रसालत, नाराए हैदरी, नाराए हैदरी, हुसैनियत, हुसैनियत, यजीदियत, सलवात पर मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद, सलवात पर मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद। ऐ रात न डलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब, ऐ रात न डलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब, सूरज न निकलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब, तू जो निकलेगा तो होगी मेरी भैया से जुदाई, तू जो निकलेगा तो होगी मेरी भैया से जुदाई, अली अकबर ना रहेगा और अब्बास सबाई, कफ़े अफ़सोस न मलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब, कफ़े अफ़सोस न मलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब, ओ सज्जाद दा बाबा दुनिया ते बायो अज दी रात मेहमान, इमरान अकील दे वसदे वेड़े कल थी पौसण वीरां, अली अकबर ने अज़ां दी तो ये सुगरा ने कहा होगा, अली अकबर ने अज़ां दी तो ये सुगरा ने कहा होगा, तू है हम शक्ल पैगंबर तेरा दुख भी तो सवा होगा, तू ना मैदान को चलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब, तू ना मैदान को चलना के उजड़ जाएगी ज़ैनब, सलवात अज़ादारो, जड़ा इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम करबला पहुंचे, करबला दी ज़मीन आदि है इमाम तुसां 72 लैके आए हो, लखां दियां फौजां कट्ठियां हो गई, इमाम फरमांदे मैं 72 लेके आया हूँ, करीमी है मेरी, मैं 72 लेके आया हूँ, करीमी है मेरी, वरना असगर ही बहुत था लाइला के वास, वरना असगर ही बहुत था करबला के वास्ते, ओ जंग होंदी है नाल जवाना दे, अज़ादार मेरे मौला दे सोए गमे हुसैन दे कोई गम न दे, केड़े वेले दा बांदे, इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम जनाबे अली असगर नू मैदान विच लैके आए, जनाबे अली असगर ने पानी मंगया है आलतश इनू फौजे यजीद इच हलचल मच गई है एक कमीना दे इस मासूम दा क्या कसूर है इनू पानी दियो यकदम उमर इब्ने साद हुरमल दे फहमे च आया है आंदा कोई तीरा हाई ते चला फौज च बगावत पई होंदी है इनू हुरमल दा तीर चाणा रबाब दे वाल खुल गए बीबी रो के आदी है जंग होंदी है ना ले जवाना दे मासूम ते जरा बजमा नहीं दा जुरम ते दस इन पानी मंगे सलवात
Thank you, Nasir Sahab. Now please join me in welcoming Brother Adnan to the podium with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala
Sure. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه المبعوث رحمة للعالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. هذه الليلة there is some Arab people here. I'm going to speak Arabic. Please, I really apologize. طبعا هذه الليلة هي الليلة العاشرة من المحرم. هذه الليلة هي من أسوأ الليالي وأحزن الليالي على أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليهم أجمعين. هذا اليوم الأخير من حياة الإمام الحسين سلام الله عليه. هذا اليوم اللي ينظر الإمام الحسين بعد مقتل آخر من كان معه وأبو الفضل العباس سلام الله عليه. عندما قتل أبو الفضل العباس نظر الإمام الحسين يمينا وشمالا فلم يجد لا ناصرا ولا معينا فنادى بأعلى صوته ألا من ناصر فينصرنا ألا من ذاب عن حرم رسول الله فيذب عنا أما من موحد فيرجو الله فينا ولكن لا مجيب كأن القوم لم يجعل الله في قلوبهم رحمة. من الذي أجاب في تلك اللحظة؟ سمع صوت قال زينب أوصيتكم بالسكوت أوصيتكم بالهدوء ما هذا الصراخ؟ قالت أخي حسين عندما سمع رضيعك صوتك واستغاثتك تحرك من على مهده وسقط. أخي يا أبا عبد الله 3 أيام لم يشرب الماء. قال آتين به. جابت زينب هذا الطفل الرضيع إلى أبيه الحسين نظر إلى وجهه وشفتاه قد جفتا رفعه هكذا إلى القوم وناداهم يا قوم إن كنت أنا المذنب فما ذنب هذا الرضيع وإن كنتم تخافون أن أشرب الماء خذوه أنتم واسقوه الماء. ولكن مع كل الأسف لم يجعل الله في قلب هؤلاء المنافقين رحمة. قال عمر بن سعد يا حرمل اقطع نزاع القوم فحكم هذا اللعين سهمه فرمى الطفل فقتله ضربه من الوريد إلى الوريد. هنا عندما أحس بحرارة السهم أخرج الرضيع يداه من القماط واعتنق والده وكان يرفرف كالطفل كالطير المذبوح ثم عاد به والده وغطاه بردائه ورجع إلى المخيم. وين يودي؟ ما يودي الأمة طبعا ودى المن إلى زينب لأني أكثر وحدة زينب هي اللي تتحمل المصائب. لما رأته مغطى هكذا ظنت أنه قد سقاه ماء. قالت سكينة قالت أسقيت أخي الرضيع ماء فلم يجبها سوى أنه كشف الرداء عنه فرأته مذبوحا من الوريد إلى الوريد. رأت زينب نادت وأخاه حسينا تقل يا خويا الطفل جيبه يا وظن من الماء يشح نصيبه وندري العطايش للي يصيبه لا يغفى ولا يبطل نحيبه. The last moment of when everybody killed just Abu al-Fadl Abbas, the last person. When Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas had the shahada, Imam al-Hussein looked left and right and he didn't see anybody supporting him. And he nada, he said, anybody helping us? Anybody to protecting the family of Rasulullah? Anybody want to go to the Jannah? Nobody reply, nobody answer him. So what he did, he went to look Yameen, left and right, and said, he called his companion, oh Habib, where are you? Oh Zuhair, where are you? And then he looked to the Euphrates and he said, oh Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, where are you? You don't hear me? We don't hear me, I'm calling you. And then he went to the tents and Zainab brought him the Abdullah there, which is Ali Asghar. She gave it to him. She said he didn't drink water like 3 days. Even her mom doesn't have, she cannot breastfeeding him. So he went to the people, to the enemy and said, this kid didn't drink water. Can you just feed him? Can you just give him water? They said no. They refused. Umar ibn Sa'ad told Harmala, kill him. اقطع نزاع القوم. I mean kill him. And he hit him by an arrow and he killed him. And then Imam al-Hussein brought him back to the tents. He carried him and he covered him. When Sakina saw him, she said, did you give water to my brother? He didn't say yes or no. He just removed the fabric and she saw him killed and she started screaming. He cannot bring it to his mom. He gave it to Zainab because Zainab, she's the leader in that time. So Zainab started crying and screaming, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين وصل يا رب على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
Thank you, Brother Adnan. A couple of quick announcements. One is for tomorrow, Yawm Ashura. We will start with a new program at Fajr time, Azan-e-Akbar, 4 a.m. And then after that, we'll have Amal Ashura at 11 o'clock, followed by Jummah khutbah and Jummah prayers. After the Jummah prayers, we'll have a short majlis called Maktal. Before Maktal, we may have one Marsiya, and after that, we may have one Noha. And then we'll go for breaking the fast or Faka. Okay? And then in the evening, we'll have a regular program at 6:30 Sham-e-Ghariba. Okay? And then on Sunday, we will have Imam Soim Majlis, same time, 6:30 p.m. on Sunday. No program for Saturday. Okay? So thank you very much, and I hope that you all participated in the head count today. If you have not, please cast your card in the respective box. Now please join me in welcoming Sayyid Muhammad Redha Qazwini to the podium with a loud salawat.
يا علي اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيب قلوب العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله وسلم عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا مصباح الهدى وسفينة النجاة ويا عبرة المؤمنين، غريب مظلوم عطشان شهيد كربلاء، ويا مسلوب العمامة والرداء، ما خاب والله من تمسك بكم، أمن من لجأ والتجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. قال الله في محكم كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ويؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة ومن يوق شح نفسه فأولئك هم المفلحون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Blessing this gathering with the remembrance of Muhammad and Al Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. A second salawat for the love of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. Allahumma salli ala A third salawat for the hastening of the reappearance of our Mawla, Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman. May our souls be sacrificed to him. My dear loved ones, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When we began this spiritual journey about 10 nights ago, I told you all that we are going to embark on a journey that we will actively engage in something called purification of the soul, tazkiyat an-nafs. We're going to purify our souls in order to become better people. And I hope at this point, after these majalis, we have all learned something effective, something that's beneficial that we can take home with us, that at least we can take those baby steps towards becoming better mu'mineen and mu'minat, my dear loved ones. When we search for character traits, certain traits that make us noble, make us whole, ahsan, thank you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you. Thank you so much. When we look for those traits, those character traits that make us closer to becoming mu'mineen, we see one of the most noble traits is something called ithar. Ithar is closely translated to altruism. Altruism. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam he states that ithar is the highest of the noble traits. There are certain traits that are better than the rest. They're called the noble traits, and ithar is the highest of those noble traits, altruism. How is it that we can engage in ithar? What is ithar? What is altruism? Is altruism always good? Is there a negative and positive altruism? And furthermore, what kinds of types of altruism is there? There are different kinds of ithar out there. And finally, are there scientific aspects or beneficial aspects for our spirit and for our health when we engage in altruism or ithar? When we look towards the Oxford Dictionary translation of altruism, we see that it's the belief in or practice of disinterested and selfless concern for the well-being of others. So basically, you're acting selflessly. You're putting others before yourself. And we see that sometimes in nature, animals engage in altruism. There was a study done by scientists that found there was a pod of dolphins, bottlenose dolphins. In 2007, they saved the life of a surfer. There was a man surfing in California, and he came under attack by a great white shark. And suddenly he sees a pod of 12 bottlenose dolphins come and save him. They put themselves in danger to save this man. That's one example of ithar, of altruism in nature. Animals can engage in this character trait known as ithar, my dear loved ones. However, we have to figure, is altruism always good? Is altruism something that is always positive within our lives? Because if we are altruistic towards specific things we should not be altruistic towards, then it's not a noble character trait. For example, you can be altruistic towards wealth, towards money. That can be your number one goal in life, money, money, money. And you put it before everything else, before your family, before your own health, your own well-being. You sacrifice your own physical and mental health just for some money. You get into different kind of jobs that might not be might not be decent for you. And you put your wealth before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You miss your prayers, you miss your religious obligations just for your wealth. That's not the right kind of altruism or ithar. If we are altruists towards materials in that same sense, it's not the right ideal. In that sense, altruism is a negativity, not a positivity. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Al-Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he defines ithar by saying that the foundation of ithar is putting something or someone before oneself to do it its true justice, to hold it towards its true maqam. Everything has a specific maqam or a specific position or rank. You see, when we engage in ithar or altruism, when we put the things that truly matter before ourselves, that's ithar. If you put something before yourself that doesn't deserve that high maqam, then that's not ithar. That's not ithar, my dear loved ones. You see, we have to have specific foundations when we want to engage in ithar. If we want to have pure altruism, noble altruism, there are preconditions for that, prerequisites for that. First and foremost, we have to have ikhlas. Ikhlas is sincerity, my dear loved ones. Within your religious a'mal and within your day-to-day life, professional life, you should do everything with 110% effort. Don't do anything under that level of effort, because then that thing that you are doing, that religious obligation you're engaging in, that professional engagement you're interacting with, it's not going to have a good level of quality, a high level of quality. And studies show this. Scientists, researchers, they took a group of people and they asked them specific questions, how they felt before they engaged, for example, in a big business venture. And some of them, they weren't entirely confident. They said, well, we're on the fence. This might go well, it might not go well. This might be the one, this might not be the one. And what they found was that when people were not confident in that engagement before they went out and accomplished that task, it reflected poorly on their performance. They did not perform to a high level. In that same sense, my dear loved ones, when we're engaging in our religious obligations and we don't have complete confidence or sincerity in those religious obligations, if I pray and my prayer, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When I pray, if my prayer is not 110% fi sabilillah, fi ta'atillah, at the end of the day, the performance of my prayer is going to be poor. If I'm praying just to mark something off a checklist, just to get it done, then it's just a set of physical movements. All I'm doing is moving my body. I have to understand my prayer. I have to have ikhlas and sincerity when I engage in that prayer. That's the first motivation towards having a noble character trait of ithar. Secondly is love, obviously. You have to engage in things with love. You see, love drives people to doing things that usually, if you look at them on the surface, they might seem illogical. Look at mothers, 9 months, they hold children in their stomachs, they go through physical pain, mental hardship, all these difficult tasks because there's love in their heart for that child. If there was no love in their heart for that child, they absolutely would not want to go through that entire burden. Having love is a major part of ithar, my dear loved ones. When we look at the story of Karbala, we look at the heroes of Karbala, each hero put Al-Imam al-Husayn's message, the message of Rasulullah, the message of Islam before himself and herself. And that's how they engaged in altruism, in ithar, my dear loved ones. Love is a major component to building true ithar. And third is obviously putting people before yourself. You have to put your family members before yourself, loved ones before yourself, and even strangers before yourself, my dear loved ones. When we put our family members before ourselves, that creates an environment of respect, of understanding, a feeling to where if I am in need, if I need a shoulder to lean on, if I need someone to speak to, my family is going to be there for me. They're going to put me before themselves. You see? That's the third noble characteristic for ithar. My dear loved ones. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When we want to mention a story of ithar, when it comes to giving to others, especially others that we don't know, we all know the story of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam in the masjid, where a less fortunate individual enters the masjid and everyone's engaged in salah and he's asking for zakat, for sadaqah, for whatever it is. What does Amir al-Mu'mineen do? He puts his hand out and he offers his ring as sadaqah, despite not knowing this individual, despite not knowing this man. And for this reason, the Quran witnesses this for Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. There are different kinds of ithar, different kinds of altruism. You can have altruism with your dua. When you pray for others. We have many traditions, many narrations that tell us if you want your dua to be answered, pray for 40 mu'mineen and mu'minat. Hence, this is why in Salat al-Layl, a major component in Salat al-Layl is to ask for the istighfar of 40 mu'mineen and mu'minat. If you want to ask for more, then perhaps you can. But that's a prerequisition. 40 mu'mineen and mu'minat. And this is why Salatul Layl has a different mystical power than a lot of the prayers and supplications out there. Salatul Layl is a tool, is a weapon in your hand that moves mountains, that removes you from darkness into light, my dear loved ones. And this is not over-exaggerating. It's not over-exaggerating. If you engage in Salatul Layl regularly, you'll see differences in your life. Major differences in your life. There's a story narrated from Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. He says one day it was Laylatul Jum'ah, which is Friday Eve, Thursday night. He says, I looked around the house. I saw my mother, Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. She's in the mihrab and she's praying. At this point, it's night. And he says, I see her engaging in ruku', sujood, qunut, recitation of the Quran. She's praying constantly until the light of daylight comes out, until Fajr. And at the end of it, he notices something. He goes to his mother, he tells his mother, oh mother, why is it that in this entire time you were praying, I only heard you mention the names of other mu'mineen and mu'minat? Not once did you pray for yourself. You didn't pray for yourself once. Why is that? She looks towards her son. She tells him, Ibni al-jar thumma ad-dar. My beloved son, first you look towards the neighbor, you look towards the mu'mineen, the mu'minat, and then you ask Allah for your own hajat. You make dua for yourself. Imagine being one of those mu'mineen or mu'minat that Fatima Zahra alayhi salam prayed for. Financial ithar, financial altruism is also a major point in being a mu'min, in being someone who's loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he has a narration. He states that if you want to test our Shia, see if they're true Shia, first of all, look to them when it's time for salah. See if they're protective over their salah. Do you know what protective means? Protective means when you, for example, send your children out to play or to the mall or to the movie theaters, you're worried about them. When are they going to come home? Who are they with? When am I going to go pick them up? What's going on? That's being protective of something. If I'm protective of my salah, I'm worried if the adhan time comes and I haven't prayed, that's something that fills me with worry. That's something that I feel like I'm disattached from something I truly need. When you're protective over your wealth, what do? You check your bank statement every week. You check your credit card statement every week. Is someone scamming me? Are there miscellaneous charges? Is someone charging my credit card without my knowledge? Have I made more money? That's being protective of something. Al-Imam al-Sadiq says, our Shia are protective of their salah. My dear loved ones, understand this. As-salah amud ad-din. If we want to be true Shia, our prayer is part and parcel of our identity. It's not something we separate from. The Imam goes on to say, test our Shia during times of salah. Observe if they are protective over their prayers. How they safeguard our secrets from our enemies. This is something that is associated with that time, and certain places still currently the Shia are persecuted. The Shia have to live in secrecy, have to live in an environment which they cannot be open and public. This is also something that a true Shia does, protects his brothers and sisters in times of danger, my dear loved ones. And then he says, see how they spend their finances when it comes to using the money they have towards the believers in need. when there's mu'mineen and mu'minat in need that are facing a financial struggle, am I going to pull out my checkbook and write a check for them to live comfortably, for them to live with dignity? If I don't have money, can I offer them a job at my business? If I don't have a business, how can I help them write that good resume for them to get a job? How can I help them? But it's financial resources that are also important. We spoke about this. One of the 5 signs of a true mu'min was giving while you have little. And this is financial altruism, my dear loved ones. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. There's a physical altruism. You can have physical altruism, my dear loved ones. You put your body into situations that are uncomfortable, painful, might not be the best situations for your comfort, right? When we fast in Ramadan, it's not something comfortable that we engage in. It's not something, for example, that if you were to describe to someone, they would explain it as being something like a walk in the park. But we do that to sacrifice some of our own well-being, our own comfort, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another example, people that put their self in danger, they put their life on the line to safeguard others, to protect others. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, on the day of Uhud, we know what Amir al-Mu'mineen engaged in on the day of Uhud, when everyone ran away. Everyone. Those companions that you hear about, the honored, companions, the wise caliphs, they all ran for the hills. They left. Amir al-Mu'mineen was the only one who stood by Rasulullah, fighting by his side. At one point, the mushrikeen were outnumbered. They were not outnumbered, but they were overwhelmed by the Muslimin. The Muslimin pushed them back. In the beginning of the war, in the beginning of the battle of Uhud, first and foremost, Rasulullah, he gives the main banner, the main alam in the hands of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Allahumma salli. When the battle begins, the Muslimin advance. They push back the mushrikeen. The mushrikeen, the non-believers, they retreat, they leave. Rasulullah, he had placed archers on an adjacent hill in order to protect the Muslimin from a counter-attack from behind. When these archers saw that the Muslimin were engaging in the spoils of battle, they were going and finding new swords, new armor, they were picking up money, whatever it was, resources, they felt like the war was won. They left their post. They defied the commands of Rasulullah. They left that hill. In that moment, Khalid ibn al-Walid, which obviously Khalid ibn al-Walid, we have to understand who he truly was. Some people call him Saifullah al-Maslul, whatever it is. Khalid ibn al-Walid at that time, he wanted to murder Rasulullah and the companions of Rasulullah. He comes with a counterattack. And at this point, the Muslimin are sandwiched. The enemies are here approaching them from the front and from the back. And everyone leaves. Everyone runs away except Ali ibn Abi Talib. He stands like a mountain beside Rasulullah. Rasulullah sees a battalion approach from the right. He says, Ya Ali, dudha anni. Oh Ali, repel this battalion. Ali ibn Abi Talib, he enters that battalion, he flips it upside down, he removes that battalion, he heads back towards Rasulullah. Ya Ali, dudha anni. One comes from the left, Ali ibn Abi Talib, he dives into the battalion, he doesn't leave a single person alive, he comes back. To the point where the Muslimin, when they're looking towards what is happening, they're baffled, they're amazed. They're looking towards one another, they're telling each other, do you see how Ali ibn Abi Talib is putting his life on the line for Islam? He's putting his life on the line for Rasulullah. They're all amazed. Not only the Muslimin were amazed. This is narrated in Sunni and Shia ahadith that the angels in heaven were amazed from what they were seeing. Amir al-Mu'mineen, his arm was broken. He was holding the alam in one hand, his sword in another hand. He's engaging in battle. At one point, his sword breaks. He looks towards Rasulullah. He says, how can I fight without a sword? At that point, Jibreel, he loses his patience. He descends from the heavens with the Dhul Fiqar and he yells out. Everyone hears this. They hear someone yell in the skies. لا فتى إلا علي ولا سيف إلا ذو الفقار. يا علي. اللهم صل على My dear loved ones, this was altruism. This was putting, Amir al-Mu'mineen was putting his life on the line. Literally, he was filled with wounds. After Uhud, he was in a state of almost a coma. He could not move. He put every ounce of his existence on the line for Islam. That was physical altruism. One of the companions, he left, he went so far, he went towards the coast of Arabia. If there was a bridge, he probably would have went to Africa. Rasulullah saw him days after the battle. He told him, ذهبت بها عريضا. You left for days. Where did you go? People leave for hours, a couple of moments. You left for days and now you're back in Medina when the battle is over. My dear loved ones, there are certain reasons why we also should engage in altruism. Worldly reasons we should engage in altruism. Altruism is known to elevate your mental and spiritual health as well as your physical health. There was a research study done by the University of British Columbia. These researchers, they gave two groups of people $40. They told one group, go and spend this $40 whatever way you want. Go and buy something for yourself. You can't buy something for anyone else. You have to spend it on yourself. By the way, these two groups of people, they had high blood pressure. This is important to mention. They had high blood pressure at the beginning of the study. The second group, they were given $40 to spend on their family members, on their loved ones, on strangers, whoever it was, but they were not allowed to spend that $40 on themselves. At the end of the study, weeks passed, they took the blood pressure levels of these two groups and they found that the group that spent that $40 on someone else or on loved ones had a lower level of blood pressure at the end of that study. You can all search this study. It's a peer-reviewed article. So when we engage in ithar, when we engage in altruism, there's also a positive impact on us in this world, and not only in the akhirah, my dear loved ones. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. On the day of Ashura, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, he's by himself. He has no more companions. He looks around his camp. He sees nobody. He enters the camp of the Ansar, the tent of the Ansar. He sees on one side his son Ali al-Akbar is laying lifeless. On one side, Qasim is laying lifeless. He sees that. He looks towards the Furat. He sees that the alam, the raya, the banner is on the ground of the Furat. Abu al-Fadl is no longer there. But on the day of Ashura, there was still one soldier in the camp of Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah, he goes towards those enemies and he cries out, هَلْ مِن نَاصِرٍ يَنصُرُنَا? Is there anyone that will come to the rescue of the household of Rasulullah? In these moments, traditions state, Sayyid Zainab, she looks towards the cradle of Abdullah al-Radi' Ali al-Asghar, and he jumps out of his cradle onto the ground when he hears his father say, is there anyone that will help us? This child, he starts to kick the floor, kick the ground, and scream as if he's saying, I'm here for you, my father. Allahu Akbar. Aba Abdullah, he looks around the camp. He knows it's time for him to shed his blood, to give his life to Islam, to protect Islam. He goes and he offers his goodbyes to his family members, to his sister Zainab, to his wives, to his children, to his daughters. Sayyidah Zainab, she looks to him, she says, Ya Aba Abdullah, before you go out, I have one mission for you. This son of yours, Ali al-Akbar, his mother cannot bear, her heart cannot bear to look you in the eyes and ask you to bring him water. He's dying of thirst. Go take this child and give him water. Allahu Akbar. Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, he goes towards the enemy camps and he looks towards the enemies and he's holding his son to the sky. He tells them, if there is a war with me, if there is a war with the adults, if there is a war with people that you want to take their life, what is the sin of the 6-month-old child who's thirsty? What has this child done to you to harm you? Allahu Akbar. Give him water. If you don't want me to give him water, then you take this child from my hand. You take him and give him water. Allahu Akbar. In these moments, the camp of Umar ibn Sa'd, la'natullah alayh, they are divided. One side says, give this baby some water. One side says, no, don't give this household any water, any member of this household. At this point, an order comes to Harmala, la'natullah alayh, attack this child, kill this child. Aba Abdullah, he's holding his child in his hand. And Harmala strikes this child's neck. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. The 3-headed arrow comes onto the neck of Abdullah al-Radi Ali al-Asghar. Allahu Akbar. Aba Abdullah al-Imam al-Baqir states, at this moment he holds a handful of this baby's blood and he throws it to the sky. Not a single drop of this blood comes back towards the earth. Allahu Akbar. My dear loved ones, after Al-Mukhtar al-Thaqafi, he comes to power and he begins to apprehend those who killed Al-Imam al-Hussein. Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, he always writes him a letter. He tells him, please bring me Harmala. I want justice towards Harmala, Harmala, Harmala. Al-Mukhtar, he says, what has this man done? I want to know why Zainul Abidin continues to ask me for this man specifically. Bring him to justice. They arrest Harmala. They sit him down. Mukhtar tells him, what have you done? You'll confess. He told him, Mukhtar, I was in charge of shooting the arrows on the day of Ashura. He told him, I shot 3 arrows. One of those arrows, it went into the eyes of Abu al-Fadl Abbas. Another one of those arrows, it punctured the heart of Aba Abdullah. Allahu Akbar. He said, the 3rd arrow, I launched it into the throat of Abdullah al-Radi Ali al-Asghar. He tells him, La'natullah alayk, did you not feel remorse? Did your heart not break at any moment? He told him, yes, my heart broke. Do you know when his heart broke? He told him, when I struck this child's throat, he ripped open the blanket. He was wrapped in his blanket. He says, this child, he hugs his father. He holds his father. Allahu Akbar. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. My dear loved ones, raise your hands in dua. اللهم إننا نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا Allah. Oh Allah, grant us forgiveness. Oh Allah, grant us paradise. Oh Allah, those who are in need of shifa, those who are dealing with mental health issues, with physical health, cancer, diabetes, oh Allah, give them shifa and recovery. Oh Allah, grant us the shafa'ah of Aba Abdullah. Oh Allah, grant us the continued khidmah of Aba Abdullah. Oh Allah, grant us the ziyarah of Aba Abdullah. Please rise to recite the dua. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma kun li waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد.